We are waiting. Vice President-elect Pence is now speaking. We're waiting to hear from Donald Trump in Des Moines, Iowa, the third stop in his, what is he calling, a thank you tour. I want to continue with the panel, though, as we wait for President-elect Trump. Former Labor Secretary Robert Reich is joining us as well. Secretary Reich, first of all, what do you make, of Donald Trump planning on continuing to be an executive producer of Celebrity Apprentice while President of the United States, and also his pick of Andrew Puzder for Labor Secretary, a job you know very well?
Well, first of all, Anderson, here's a man, Donald Trump, campaigned as if he was going to be the voice of average working people. He said over and over again that he was going to represent the silenced worker of America. Actually, what has happened filled his administration with nominees who are millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires, and appointed the most anti-worker Secretary of Labor in modern history. I have racked my brain today to try to find any modern labor secretary who was so obviously and adamantly against things such as the minimum wage or the time and a half overtime hours, the labor laws, basic labor regulations. There's nobody. There was a fellow that Ronald Reagan briefly appointed named Ray Donovan who got in trouble with the law, had some legal problems, was very anti-labor, but is nothing compared to this nominee. And Donald Trump seems basically to be unfazed by the fact that he's filling all of these cabinet positions with people who dislike the very purpose of the department they are in. A Secretary of Education who hates public education, an Attorney General who is against the Voting Rights Act, a Housing and Urban Development Secretary who is against the fair housing laws. I mean, what are we doing here? This is not just right-wing. This is almost nihilistic.
And does it make sense? You raised a lot of concerns about his tweeting last night. Does it concern you the potential conflicts of interest on his business side and this whole notion of, the latest example being remaining executive producer on Celebrity Apprentice?
Well, I think the biggest problem with all these conflicts of interest is not only that they might actually change his mind on particular policies that have a bearing upon the public interest, or at least warp his perspective, but they also reduce public confidence in the office of the presidency. And that, I think, is the core issue here. He doesn't care about confidence in the office of the presidency. He cares mostly, at least as he's shown himself, he cares about himself, about his power, about his dominance, about humiliating others and maintaining that dominance. But the office of the presidency is a sacred trust, and reducing public confidence in that office, making that office almost a kind of a vulgar and demeaning position, is a long-term cost potentially to this country and this society. And frankly, I don't think Donald Trump cares.
Kayleigh, is this demeaning of the office of the President of the United States to be an executive producer of a TV show?
No, not at all, because he's not an executive producer per se making decisions. He's receiving a paycheck because he was integral to the creation of a show.
But he is getting an executive producer credit, which is what he's always had.
He's getting the credit and he's getting a paycheck. He's not making decisions. He's going to have no role in what The Apprentice looks like and what the final product looks like. Look, when Secretary Clinton came in to be confirmed, there was a lot of worries about the Clinton Foundation. Can't she handle it? She promised there would be a line between the Clinton Foundation and between her work as Secretary of State. She blurred that line. She couldn't handle the job. Donald Trump may be the person who comes in who can handle the fact that, yes, he might still have ownership in here or there, but he's not making the managerial day-to-day decisions in his business. If he's the one who can handle that, let's give him the same chance that we gave to Secretary Clinton. And I just want to quickly say to Secretary Reich, I think that was really unfair the way you characterized the cabinet picks. Jeff Sessions is a great guy. He's not against the Voting Rights Act. He's for civil rights. I think the pick today, Mr. Puzder, is a guy who his employees have said he cares about the cashier the same way he cares about the business owners. I think it's really unfair to characterize him in that way. Just because he believes in states raising the minimum wage rather than the federal minimum wage, he buys into the philosophy, the conservative philosophy, when you raise the minimum wage, you hemorrhage jobs. Just because he's conservative, it doesn't mean he's anti-worker.
Secretary Reich?
I'm not saying he's anti-worker because he's conservative. I'm saying he's anti-worker because he's anti-worker. His entire The Department of Labor came into his restaurants and found that half of his restaurants had wage and hour violations that violated the laws of the United States. You think that's pro-worker?
I think it's pro-worker that he cares about the cashier the same way as he cares about the business owner. People have come out and said that this man is someone who has treated me fairly, that I enjoy working for.
You think it's pro-worker to have a salary every year that his weekly paycheck equals the average yearly paycheck of his workers, and he's against a minimum wage increase? You think that is pro-worker? I'm sorry, I've never heard of that.
Now you're making a classist socialism argument, and I don't buy into socialism. I believe in democracy. I believe in capitalism. I believe that just because someone at the top is making a lot of money, that doesn't mean we should demonize them for that reason.
But why should they be Secretary of Labor when they are in charge of enforcing the labor laws and they have a record of not even obeying the labor laws?
He should be Secretary of Labor because he believes in lessening regulation. He believes in lowering taxes. He believes in the philosophy that is going to make small business thrive, that is going to make it work at the top, and is thus going to trickle down to the employees within that business. He buys into a philosophy that has been very prosperous in the 1980s.
I'm sorry, when did we last have a Secretary of Labor who had the kind of non-labor, no working person experience and has been an employer who has violated the labor laws? I'm sorry, I don't remember. Maybe you have a better memory.
When is the last time we had a Secretary of Labor who actually believes in conservative philosophy that is better for the worker in the long run? We can adhere to this socialist idea that you want apparently viewers to adhere to, this idea that's demonize the people at the top, but that's not going to make anyone better off at the end. In the end, the policies of Donald Trump and the policies that his pick supports are going to make life better for the average worker.
Well, we're going to find out.
It worked in the 1980s.
Very
it worked in the 1980s. It's going to work again.
It did not work in the 1980s.
It did
in
work
fact,
in the 1980s.
Wages were flat. In the 1980s, actually, the median wage started to flatten and decline.